I quit my JavaScript job 3 years ago to go full-time into Rust, and it was the worst decision I've ever made. Let me tell you why you should never learn Rust, especially if you've been thinking about it or already started learning. The first reason you should never learn Rust is because the Rust compiler is way too annoying. First of all, it complains all the time. In C++, you can just modify data however you want. For example, you can create a vector, grab a reference to one of its elements, modify the vector, and then keep using that reference. Who cares if a vector reallocation leads to undefined behavior at runtime? That's a future you problem. But in Rust, if you try to do the same thing, you get this annoying error. Cannot borrow numbers as mutable because it is also borrowed as immutable. The compiler not only gives you an error, but it explains why with little annoying annotations, highlighting the exact parts of code in question. It even gives you a link to documentation like you don't know what you're doing. It just won't let you ship code. Instead of the thrill of deploying to production and praying that nothing breaks, you're stuck with boring, compile time checked garbage. Code that just works. But that's not even the worst part. The second reason you should never learn Rust is because Rust makes you think too deeply about your code. There's no null or undefined. Instead, there's this thing called option. So every time something might not exist, I have to explicitly handle it. What if this user doesn't have an email? What if this array is empty? In Java, I could just not think about it. Let it crash in production like a normie. But now I have to consider edge cases before my users find them. I can't even do simple things like changing my code. Let's say I wanted to change a function signature. Simple, right? In JavaScript, you can just change it, hope nothing breaks, and test if things are working properly in production. In Rust, if you change a function signature, the compiler exposes every place that needs updating. It forces you to think how every change can impact downstream code. So annoying. I can't introduce subtle bugs anymore. The compiler won't let me. The third reason you should never learn Rust is because Rust will make you unemployable. First, I cannot contribute to any codebases anymore. I look at a Python codebase and I see race conditions everywhere. I look at Java and see null pointer exceptions waiting to happen. I look at C++ code and have an anxiety attack thinking about who's freeing what memory. I've become that annoying person that says this wouldn't happen in Rust in every code review. Nobody invites me to work meetings anymore. Second, I cannot do job interviews anymore either. I went to a job interview for a JavaScript position. The interviewer asked, how would you handle this async operation? I said, well, in Rust. They said, but this is a JavaScript role. I said, right, but have you considered rewriting it in Rust? I didn't get the job, but their codebase probably has security vulnerabilities, so who's the real winner here? Third, I used to have imposter syndrome. Am I even a real developer? Now I have reverse imposter syndrome. I look at people's code contributions and think, are they real developers? You're not handling this error case. This has a data race. Why is this variable mutable? Turns out competence is also unemployable. HR calls it not being a culture fit. I call it being right. So I've been rightfully unemployed for 7 years. But it gets even worse. The fourth reason you should never learn Rust is because the community is obnoxiously helpful. I asked a simple question on the Rust community Discord server. What is the best way to read a file in Rust? I expected a straightforward response. Instead, I got back a 2,000-word essay on the inner workings of I/O, buffering, error handling, and ownership, plus links to 4 different blog posts and 3 different approaches depending on file size, and a working code example. These people really love to yap about Rust. The amount of passion they have is a little suspicious. Now I'm an expert in Rust's I/O system, even though I only wanted to read a small file in Rust. I can't ask simple questions anymore. The Rust community has weaponized education against me. I'm now a better engineer than I was yesterday, against my will. The fifth reason you should never learn Rust is because you cannot collect UBI checks yet because AI isn't taking over Rust jobs. Rust job demand keeps rising every year, and many of the places Rust is used are safety critical. This is where things cannot afford to be just good enough. A bug in a JavaScript to-do app may be just a little annoying, but a bug in a blockchain smart contract can cost hundreds of millions of dollars stolen in just a split second. A bug in aerospace software can blow up a rocket and cost real human lives. In these environments, you can't just have an inexperienced engineer copy-pasting AI slop and hope that it works. Companies will need people who deeply understand memory safety, concurrency, and performance. They'll need engineers who actually know what the code is doing and take responsibility and ownership for their work. So now I'm stuck writing code where mistakes could be potentially devastating. I wanted to build simple JavaScript sites that AI can easily automate, so I can start collecting UBI checks from the government as soon as we achieve singularity. Instead, I'm stuck being a code monkey, working on the most interesting and impactful software projects. Worst decision ever. If you also want to be stuck writing Rust code forever and ruin your career, here's what you could do. Join the Rust Live Accelerator waitlist. This is a private group training where we'll be laser focused on getting you production level Rust skills, and to make sure you become the type of Rust talent that companies are desperate to hire. We're opening up a few spots very soon. So click the link below to join the waitlist. You'll be the first to know when applications open. So tap the link, join the waitlist, and I'll see you inside.